Yeah, test 1, 2, 3. Hi. Want to put another chair here? Oh. Two people talk at the same time? Oh, yeah, it's okay. It's good.
They have hard copies of any presentation.
Oh. Yeah. It's better than what? uh, I know. Have a good weekend. I think it is.
Check, check. Right? Crank it up to 11. I will now call to order the January 8th Special Board of Education meeting. We acknowledge the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Chumash, Tongva, Fernandino, Tataviam, and First Nations on which we are learning, educating, and living. Mr. David Gerharder, would you be so kind as to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you so much.
Hand over your heart. Yeah. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. The republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
Liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Director of Purchasing David Gerharder. Really appreciate that. Ms. Kateria, will you take the roll, please?
President Poncher Kamkar,
Here.
Vice President Weisberg,
Present.
Clerk Cano,
Present.
Member Olson. Present. Member Gagakanian. Member Gagakanian is not here yet.
Right, do we have any virtual public speakers?
No.
Okay, we are at number 2, request to address the board. An individual or group representative may address the Board of Education on any agenda item by completing a white request card. Speakers are requested to state their name prior to speaking to the board. No more than 5 minutes may be allotted to each speaker, except by unanimous consent of the Board of Education. The superintendent may refer the matter to the proper department for review. So I have one speaker card, which is Mr. Schlossman. Gentlemen, yeah, if you can
Yeah.
make some space for our speaker, and then we'll have you come back up.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome.
Welcome to you. A safe and healthy new year for everybody, I hope. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for searching for a leader for this district, because we desperately need to head in a different direction. All the things going on here surely point to it. I'm concerned that Mr. Macias is in the running for this position. And I wanted to urge all of you to use caution and consider someone else, because my feelings are that he is not the right man for this position. I got this document and I got his signature. It's quite a unique signature. And it reminded me of a fellow I met 50 years ago. He was also a doctor. George Fishbeck he was a news guy. He went like this, and he put the little bow tie, just like he was a bow tie man, just like Macias. Underneath his signature here is something very disturbing to me. It says, observe or overserve the underserved. And to me, that's discriminatory, because he's treating people different. And that's the wrong message that we want to send to everybody here. It's worth thinking about that. And I had I don't know if you've ever had one of these aha moments where you just get total clarity and you understand the problem and the cloud's clear. Well, I had one of those with this message that the interim superintendent sent me. It's a holiday message to the Burbank Unified School District community. And in this message, he quotes someone named Mel Robbins. I thought, who is this guy? So I had to do a little homework, and it's not a guy at all. It's a lawyer. And the lawyer has some opinions. And I realized that the superintendent listens to these kinds of people, because he's quoted others before come up with these kind of things. And this Mel Robbins is real big on something called ignore criticism. And that was the moment of clarity, because this superintendent absolutely ignores criticism. There's no debate. And it occurred to me that that might work for a lawyer, but it doesn't work for the leader of a school district. A leader of a school district needs to be open to criticism and welcome criticism. And that's not what we're getting right now. And Mr. Macias is leading us, or he's led us into many, many problems, a lot of chaos. And just look at the fiasco with Mr. Cantwell, Ms. Rodchenko, and now Mr. Maxwell. And I'm worried about our future. All of us want a good district. And I hope that you folks will take the time that's needed, have an open mind, and get somebody in here that has leadership abilities and is the right person for this district. That person exists. And I'm quite certain that it's not the person that we have now. And I thank you all for your attention this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Schlossman. I don't see any other public comments. Board responses, me and my colleagues. All right, we'll move on then to number 3, which is our only agenda item in open session, which is our study session on superintendent search with Dr. Michael Matthews and Dr. Roger Rice from Education Support Services. So, gentlemen, I will leave it to you to lead us in discussion a bit here on the search itself. And I know you've got an agenda for this particular agenda item that was attached to our agenda.
Okay, well, thank
A
you. First
Russian
of all,
doll.
thank you, board, for meeting with us. Thanks for talking. This is where we kick off and get everything started. We appreciate your faith in us. That was a very well-run and great meeting that you had last month. And so we've been working a lot since then and talking a lot since then. Actually, have a number of things to talk to you about today that are in process. But this is a day where we want to make sure you know what the details of the process are. And we're going to need some feedback from you as well as we get going and get things into motion. And so we'll have both those opportunities. It's important that this be in open session because it's not something protected by closed session. And so we need your feedback in public. And then we'll have opportunities to meet individually later on with you. And we'll have opportunities to talk about things that are protected by closed session when those times are appropriate. So I hope we could spend an hour or so in public and be efficient with that. You never know. We'll see how it goes, but we'll stay here as long as you want. But that's our intent as we go forward. So again, I'm Mike Matthews. Proud to be with you guys today. I work with ESS. Former superintendent of Manhattan Beach for 11 years, superintendent of Placentia Yorba Linda for 1 year, an HR background, high school principal before that, and been retired now for 3 years. And I love doing this work with boards. I love doing this work with finding executive people who can lead. I love supporting leaders, and it's been a really meaningful part of my retirement. And so I look forward to this together. Roger, you want to just reintroduce yourself too, please?
Sure. Good evening, Board President Comcar, Vice President Weisberg, and members of the board and the audience. Dr. Roger Rice. The only thing I want to say this evening is that Mike and I have something really important in common, and that's our love for building teams. You know, serving kids, of course, is the #1 priority, and making sure that they're getting the best possible education, of course, but I can't think of a better way to attack that problem than surrounding myself with the absolute best people I can find. And when Mike and I were discussing our relative thoughts on that topic the other day, one of the things we said is that that's our legacy, right? The people that we leave behind as superintendents and as assistant superintendents and as school principals, that's our legacy. That's our contribution long-term to the communities that we serve. And we are so excited to be working with you to try to do the same thing for you that we've tried to do in our careers. And that is to help you start the process of building the absolute best team you can by, and I'm going to say this, I haven't cleared this with Mike, but my goal, and I say this whenever I have searched for other superintendents or assistant superintendents, is to make your job as difficult as possible. As counterintuitive as that might sound, we want to put a slate of candidates in front of you that is so qualified and brings so many diverse perspectives, skill sets, and strengths to the table that when you sit around and deliberate, we don't want it to be a black and white decision. We want you guys to struggle with it because there's so many good folks in front of you. So we're going to do our best to do that, and we look forward to the work ahead.
So we plan to go through, first of all, our engagement strategy, how we're going to hear about Burbank Unified from as many people as possible. We're going to get your feedback. I hope this is interactive, right? So please, there's not a time for questions at the end. The entire time is a time for questions. So please stop us and we'll answer questions along the way. Let's talk about communication first of all. You guys mentioned it during your deliberations last time, but we will provide weekly updates to the board. So a quick check, are you receiving our weekly updates to the board? Very good. All right, thank you for those. The intent is, I mean, we know you get asked questions out there, so you could always be up to date about that. We are also in the process, actually, by the way, Cindy Quiterio has been great so far, and we expect that to continue. We now have a landing page for the superintendent search. And so our job is we'll start populating that tomorrow. And again, we want to make this part, the process, very transparent. I mean, how we actually work with the applicants, that's highly confidential, but the process is very transparent. So we'll put our proposal there. We'll put hopefully a link to this meeting there so people can see that. We'll have all those. And if you have suggestions for what we can add, we'll add those things along the way. And so we'll, as we go through this, we'll tell you what will be on that landing page, but we hope you point people to that a lot and answer the questions certainly, but point them to the page and say, hey, they're keeping this updated, they're keeping us updated, they're keeping the public updated, and that's all there.
And that's all living on the BUSD website, not on the ESS website. That's
Right.
right. Okay, great. Thanks.
Yep. And so when you get questions, and you will, if you get a question about the process, feel free to answer it and point them to the website. If you get a question about, hey, this is a good candidate, have you guys talked about that? The best answer is, have you met Roger and Mike? Right? Their email addresses are on the page. You can contact them, but probably a way you get in trouble is to actually be talking about that, because then you as one single board member have information, and that's just not the way you want to do it. So when you get someone recommending a candidate, when you get someone saying, I don't think this candidate is a good person, any of that, please forward them to us. We will have our email addresses right there on the page, and they'll have opportunities to talk to us at a variety of forums we'll have too. And so, but again, process are okay to answer. We want to talk to all the candidates. One of the things we're going to talk about is when we get to candidate people, we're not going to just forward a resume to you in the very end. We're going to, in many cases, we'll know them, or we'll know somebody who knows them. And if we don't, we'll talk to them. We'll talk to people who know about them. And so that's our job. Our job is to take care of all that for you. And when you have email questions or phone call questions for us, please ask us. We can provide updates to the entire board if there's information that's relevant that everybody should be knowing about. And so we'll be working about that too. Other communication things I didn't bring up that you guys are looking for from us that we have not said so far. Yeah. Okay, great. All right, focus groups, individual interviews, community forums. Our first job is to learn about you, right? Because that helps us to advertise for the candidate. That helps us to, I mean, we will develop, we already have relationships with some of the candidates. And our job is to help them know exactly what this job is about, right? And we know this much right now. But by the end of it, we're going to know this district extraordinarily well. And I bet you as board members probably know all of it, but maybe you would even be surprised by some of the things we are hearing. But we want to be able to have that. So we have to talk to a lot of individuals. We want to talk with each one of you individually if you have time for us. We think that's very important. And that will probably be an initial conversation, right? Because there'll be follow-up things. And so we are planning, we can do meetings by phone call, by Zoom. We have both, we've told Cindy that we're both here next Tuesday and Thursday. We hope to be meeting with a lot of people during that time. Sometimes we'll meet together. If we're double booked, we can split apart. But our intent is to talk to as many people face to face. We'll meet with principals, we'll meet with directors, we'll meet with rank and file employees. We want to hear from a lot of people. We're also going to need to schedule a community forum meeting. That was in our proposal. And so we don't want to wait too long for that, but we also want to wait long enough to make sure people have information for us. So we're thinking maybe not next week, but the week after. And I guess our question to you is, where should that forum meeting be? Should it be at one of the schools? We like a large, you never know who's going to show up, right? Sometimes we've had larger crowds, sometimes we have a dozen people. But any suggestions on where we should meet? Yeah, Emily?
Assuming this will be hybrid.
We could definitely do it hybrid. We will have a separate Zoom meeting though.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
mean,
can talk about that.
Yeah, we should talk about it just because I wonder about if we're only doing two, not only in a pejorative sense, but if we're doing two community forums, making them both as accessible. And it could be if we do, if we end up doing hybrid and it's a seminar, people aren't going to be able to, maybe it's the opportunity to listen, but you can't, like, I don't want to have some like staff tethered to
Right.
responding. And then if they want to, there's another in-person one, but ideally it would be a good idea to have it hybrid. Also, in relationship to translation for our Armenian community and our Spanish speaking community, making sure that everybody is going to be able to participate. And so we can absolutely hire translators, or if it's being streamed, they can have live translation.
And do we have Armenian and Spanish translators on staff that we can work with? Okay,
We have folks that we can.
We have folks that we can,
okay.
we just need to have as much lead time as possible.
Mhm.
And again, I want to defer to your expertise as far as what's effective and what's not.
Yeah,
But
I'd love to know how that has maybe worked in the past, because I know you're asking a lot of questions and my guess is that you've structured it so that people aren't just yelling out answers anyway. And so maybe it's that you're
It
having
depends.
people work in small groups
Yeah,
or.
let's say a dozen people show up.
Yeah.
That's a nice conversation.
Yeah.
That's, we're asking this same questions that you read about, what's great about BUSD? What are the challenges that the new superintendent's going to face? And what's the third one? Yeah, quality characteristics you're looking for in a superintendent. Thank you very much. So we're asking those questions, and that could be, but if it's 200 people.
Yeah.
All right, then we do break up into smaller groups. We do have boards where they can put up their items.
Mhm.
We will structure it entirely differently. Personal bias, but you're in charge. I think if by hybrid you mean people can listen in, I'm all in. If by hybrid you mean that the entire crowd is sitting there while a person from outside is talking, that can take away a lot of momentum for a meeting. Okay, very good. They're on the same page with that. So that we won't know till we get there. We'll be ready for the big crowd, but we'll see where it goes.
I think maybe what we could do is the same way that we do for speakers for board meetings, where we say, if you are going to require translation, you need to let us know ahead of time. We could still have our translators come and be ready, like they do at city council meetings where they say like, okay, does anyone need translation? And if you don't, you're free. We could do it that way.
That's the way we've done it, where
Mhm.
they're there and ready. And
Mhm.
if there's no need, they're politely
we
told they can go, yeah.
Because
also
we do have a lot of folks that, our LCAP meetings are hybrid, and that is usually how our Spanish speakers and Armenian speakers participate, is through translators that we basically put them into separate Zoom rooms.
Right.
And that's how the translators then speak to them, is they're listening to the English version and translating that way. But I would love it if our usual translators could come to the meetings and we make it very clear that we're going to have translation available, because I really want to make sure that it's, again, to Dr. Weisberg's point, accessible.
the other thing that made me think of is we have a really robust deaf and hard of hearing
Mhm.
community. So we should also have ASL.
How do you typically broadcast and make sure that the community knows about this? Because we're talking about in a week or 2 weeks. What are some best practices to make sure that we get as many people as we can?
Right. It's probably some of the ways you already use, but I mean, we know we've talked to Cindy. There is a district email list for staff and for parents and community members. It will be on the landing page as well. We hope that individual schools reach out too, because sometimes a parent will open an email from a principal more than they'll open an email from
Exactly,
the
yeah.
district office. So we hope the same message can go out again and again in different ways. I don't know if robocalls work for you guys, but we can do that as well. Anything else you'd add, Roger?
No, I was gonna say, the robocalls, best way for districts that have Parent Square or utilities like that, that one person sharing the information, inviting them to come, telling them, and then that call, just by that 10-minute investment of time to record that message. We'll work with staff to try to make sure.
What about local newspapers in terms of, I'm thinking like the Leader, because we've got a good connection, especially with
Yeah.
the new person that's taken over the Leader. Maybe that, and we have something called myburbank.com.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure if we have a
Mhm.
date,
Yeah.
if we can pick a date tonight, I
Okay.
think we
Yes.
would be able to get that.
We can help put out a press release that would work, be succinct. Have a quote from probably from you, President Kamkar,
Mhm.
and just about the importance of all that, right?
Now, what about district PTA?
So did you all, so one of the contacts that I've already given Dr. Matthews is Kirsten Morris from Council
Okay,
PTA.
okay.
So I know that we're already connecting with them, but that could be one mailing list that I'm sure PTA will be very interested
support us
and
as well.
would
Yeah.
be. But
They can
one
send
thing
it
I
to the
wanted to,
individual schools.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, right.
absolutely.
Great.
One thing I wanted to get back to in terms of logistics was just, I know we have LCAP meetings coming up. And so that is just a night that I want to make sure we don't hit. LCAP is 21st. I know we have a board meeting on the 15th. But otherwise, let me pull up the district calendar.
Yeah, so the week of the 19th could be a great week to do this. It gives us 2 weeks to advertise. Maybe 2 weeks from today, the 22nd.
I mean, that Thursday, the 22nd, I'm just looking at a couple different school calendars too. Thursday evenings, it's the same as board meeting days.
Mine aren't, but
What about timing? Like, what have you been successful knowing people's work, children, life, busy schedules? I mean, does a taco truck help? Like, what are some things that really help with that trickiness of finding the time with all of the working families?
Well, taco truck wasn't in our proposal, but I'm love
not you
taco
paying for it,
trucks.
just as maybe getting someone to come out saying, there's going to be people.
Well, that's where we really rely on you guys. I mean, what is it that works to get people there? If you think that could be something helpful, we're listening. I think with working families, you want an evening meeting. I mean, you do. And probably the Zoom meeting the same way. You want that to happen that way. So,
My opinion is there's a little sweet spot in there. You don't want to have it too early. 5 o'clock, people need to get home. Get themselves travel to wherever. Then if you wait too long, 7, it's over, it's 9 o'clock, 9:30, and that doesn't really work for working families either. So, 6:30-ish, somewhere in there, limit it to an hour, hour and a half. Try to be respectful of people's time.
I also think it'll be important for us to reiterate that it's not the only way to provide feedback. So there'll be another session. There's other ways that you can make your voice heard because we all know there's never going to be a time that's going to work for like every family. But I think just reiterating, and you guys have already done that, I think really well with the sort of proposed timeline of don't worry if you can't be at this, because here are the other 3, 5 ways that you're going to be able to contribute meaningfully to the conversation. So even if we include that, I think in a press release or in whatever we're publicizing, which is like, hey, if you can't make this one, don't worry. Here are some other, like click this link to go complete this survey or whatever it is so that people don't feel like that's their only opportunity to contribute.
Yeah, I would worry about doing that Tuesday, because it is right after a holiday. I just feel like people are gonna forget.
We could go a week later. 27th, is that too late? No? That's. Yeah.
Tuesday, the 27th, is that a Tuesday?
Tuesday, unless I'm.
No, I just don't have my thing in front of me.
It gives us a little bit more time to get our ducks in a row. And the week after a holiday is also probably wise.
Right. Hang on one second. Just looking through. We want to get the survey to you in the profile by the 5th, right? Yeah, I it's a difficult week for Roger to go that next week, and so especially if it's a larger one, it's better to go there. So Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday, 19/20/22.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, thank you.
So then maybe we try to do that Thursday, the 22nd. Yeah, let's do that. Because I know that we've got other stuff, like we said, LCAP, there's kindergarten and registry, there's all sorts of other stuff. So let's try to,
Zoom meeting advertised at the same time, where
Mhm.
we could even do 2 of those, one during the day and one at night, where
Mhm.
be there for that. So, all right, so we're going 122. We're going at 6:30. And do you have recommendations for a school site for us or here? What's your preference?
Could,
let's work with staff. Like I would love to do it at one of the middle schools, probably.
Yeah.
Do you normally do it in like an auditorium or like a multipurpose room?
Multi-purpose room, yeah.
Yeah,
20.
I think that would be great.
20th.
22nd.
22nd. Okay, we'll reach out to, and then we can work with staff on.
Yeah.
And find out, middle schools are nice and you don't want a stadium seating place.
Right.
People can mingle and talk.
Because I want to be able to like hang chart paper. I mean, we've also done those kinds of things in here and been able to hang stuff up, but I don't know how many people we're going to expect, right? So
We
I
could
wanna make sure
also-
that we have enough space.
Could also see if the library is available. If like the Buena Vista, the big room at Buena Vista, or the other room at Central.
Mm.
Because I think a lot of our middle schools, it's just there's like.
The tables are okay.
All right, we'll talk.
Do that.
Yeah, and if you have other ideas as you're going forward, just throw us a.
Okay, great.
Hey, we just did something.
Yeah, check.
Way to go.
Aren't logistics?
It's rare,
so
right?
Exciting.
That's not what I said.
No, I was talking to David behind you. He said, "Plotting."
Okay, Roger. Sorry.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, so going through our agenda, my role will be to cover items 4, 5, and 6 with you. I want to brag on the staff here. We have met so far with Cindy, Corinne, Karen, Lauren. They've just been amazing. And number one, I wanted to chat about the scheduling of meetings. They've already started doing that, the sharing of a calendar with us so that we can all see the same thing. They've already done that. The setting up of the landing page. So before I say any word about this process, kudos to the staff. They're doing a great job.
They are wonderful.
So I'm going to start with the outreach, just identifying some of the groups that we've worked with so far to set up meetings. Obviously, Mike alluded to the fact that we want to have some time individually with you all, and Cindy will help us schedule that. We have them working for next Tuesday and Thursday to set up meetings with members of the superintendent's cabinet, including both certificated and classified leaders. We have site principals included in that mix for outreach, as well as union leadership. So I also wanted to touch on the 2 public forums. We already did that, so that's great. We haven't scheduled the Zoom webinar style you have any thoughts about that, Mike, at this point, or do you want to come back to that?
I think we come, I think that'll be easier, but you guys have any thoughts about that? I didn't know if you wanted to talk about fixing.
Yeah, her microphone has something strange on it. The, I just think,
Talk to staff and just find it. That's much easier.
yeah, the Zoom should be easier to schedule. I just think we need to make sure we're not hitting another night that we are doing any other district Zoom meeting, which it gets a little hairy in January for some reason. Not for some reason, because we have a lot of other required and also important meetings happening in January. But, you know, even if, yeah. So I think that one should be easier to pull together, I think. But
Okay, and Mike alluded to the fact that you have our email addresses and our phone numbers, so you can call us or text us or email us with the folks that you think that we should add to the list for our outreach. And who might that be? That might be folks like community leaders, service organizations, city officials, business leaders, and parent group leaders who might be a booster club president who's particularly active in the school. These are not people who just to check a box, we reached out to them, but they're folks who know the district, who are going to have meaningful input. We'd really love to talk to them. So maybe take some time to think about that and then email one or both of us with some contact information. We can get the contact information if you don't have it, but we'd like some suggestions to add to our list for outreach. We will ask those folks and you all, when we meet with you, the same questions that Mike reviewed earlier. You know, what are your strengths? What are some challenges? And what kind of a person are you looking for in terms of skills, talents, and abilities? And also one question that we always kind of conclude with, and we'll do the same with you, is if you know of anybody who you think would be particularly strong as a candidate, please tell us who that person is and why you think they might represent a strong candidate. And then we will do our job, as Mike alluded to, going out and doing our due diligence to do some background research on those folks.
We found great people doing that. And it's always a good conversation. It's nice to know your name is being mentioned, right? Even if you don't want to apply, it's nice to know that people are talking. So,
I have to imagine it might also give you a sense of that also qualities and characteristics piece that might not come out.
Right.
That might not be, they might not be able to name until they're talking about a particular person.
Right. And because they'll often say why they think that person,
Mhm.
and then you start getting exactly what you're talking about.
Mhm.
And we would, just to build on that, we would ask you to give thought to what format you prefer in terms of communications. We can meet on a Zoom chat with you where you're comfortable at home and I'm comfortable. Like we can do that. We can do a phone call. We can come out here in person during the days that we're here. Maybe you're available, you live close by. Whatever that might be, let us know, let Cindy know. And we're going to try to reach out to you at the time and place that you're most comfortable.
One of our favorite meetings is to go to the maybe student council at both boroughs and Burbank and talk to those guys. Maybe other leaders there too, because it's just. I mean, sometimes a superintendent is a distant figure for high school people. Other times it's something they care deeply about. But it's not. I mean, your student representatives, of course, that you have here are highly articulate and know what's going on. But we always enjoy that perspective too.
I want to make sure too, which I'm sure will happen, that when we're thinking about our student leadership groups, that we're keeping Monterey as part of that mix.
Yep.
They don't have a student council in the same way that boroughs and Burbank High do, but they do have student leaders that the principal should be able to identify. And I want to make sure that that not only the students, but the staff there is a robust part of the conversation.
Thank you.
Of course.
I will admit to knowing boroughs and Burbank just from being a high school principal and knowing sports teams and that sort of thing. But Monterey, we will go there. We will. Yeah, I love continuation high schools. Is it a continuation?
It's amazing. It's amazing.
And the other one I would flag for you is our adult school.
Yes.
So our adult school is a pillar of the community and it is one of the
Unbelievable.
happiest places on earth. And the director of our adult school is just a really wonderful human being. And I just think
truly.
He is, I think you will have an interesting time there and kind of hearing his thoughts as well.
They're
because They
amazing.
just, yeah, they do some really great work. So.
ILA as well.
We did not like you using that.
Whoops.
We're moving on. No, my wife will applaud that. She taught ESL at the adult school for many years.
Ugh,
and
It's,
I would come home from my full day of work and get to hear the full rundown on the doings of the adult ed. So
amazing.
appreciate the great work that the adult ed folks do as
Mm-hmm.
well. So we talked about the one-on-ones with the board members. I'm going to move on now to, Mike alluded to the fact that we're going to be putting a survey out there. And again, kudos to the staff for getting that process started and having a link, landing page for us to put the links to that. I did want to share that we'll be working with staff to maximize responses. And one of the strategies that I've used in the past was to have, and this goes along with the LCAP. I'm glad you mentioned that. In my time as superintendent, we gave our high schools especially class time to do during their sustained silent reading period or the homeroom period or whatever worked best for the principal. Class time to go online and do their one-to-one devices. It's not that hard. Most people have access to a laptop and they can go in and do surveys. So we'll work with staff to try to maximize the response from students, from staff, and from community. Also, we talked about, I had a note here to talk to you about the translation services, but we addressed that earlier. So we're going to assume that we want our surveys translated both in Spanish and Armenian. Okay.
Are we translating into Russian for some things now too, I've seen, or, sorry, Ms. Kateri, to put you on the spot.
It's okay. So we have Blackboard, which automatically translates into various languages, including Russian, Armenian, Spanish. There's quite several in there.
Okay.
It does it automatically.
Oh, okay.
We no longer have to request those services or source them out.
Okay.
You would need this.
But the survey,
Yeah, I think if it's a Google form, I know you're there. If it's a Google form, that has to be translated separately.
So maybe what we do is put at the top of it, if you need a translation that is not English,
I don't-
Spanish, or Armenian, no?
I don't think we can do that because it may be that the person isn't like, is not even able to read that.
Mhm.
I think we should, my feeling is de facto translate Spanish and Armenian. And if there's another language that is needed, I don't know how we get that information, but I do think in general,
They're probably using like a page translator.
they might be. I mean, if it, for the
Which
Google.
I don't love, but
Nor I, but I do think like there's a limit to staff time and
Mhm.
money, but I do think fundamentally, especially for something as important as the survey, to just de facto have that, the Google Forms in Spanish, Armenian, and English would be,
The Blackboard communication itself could have that message.
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Or
Mhm.
person that can talk, that
Mhm.
would go in the language of choice.
that's awesome.
So we're saying not Russian then?
We're correct. I think we're saying
Okay.
that if they
Spanish?
need Russian,
Yeah, I know.
they can use
Yeah.
Blackboard and then reach out.
Fine.
Okay, our experience has shown that narrowing the focus of the survey serves a couple of important purposes. One is it gives it some structure, so you're not reading 20-page diatribes on every topic under the sun, which then is hard to incorporate into thematic trends that we want to convey to you through the leadership profile, which Mike's going to talk about in a minute. But there's nothing magical about having the 3 items that we have, except that it seems to have worked really well in the past. What's great about your district? What do you like about the district? What are some challenges you can foresee? And then what are the skills, talents, abilities, characteristics you want to see in a new superintendent? So tonight, we're giving you the opportunity to share with us if there's anything else that you want us to add to the survey that would add to our efforts to identify those themes and trends.
Did you have something? It is great. I had, these are more questions than additions, but I wondered a couple of things. In the survey, that you guys had for us to look at, hold on, I'm trying to find it now and I've come. No, I know, I was looking at it a minute ago and now it is gone from my, I don't mean to brag, but I have so many tabs open. So in the, Jesus. Sorry, you guys. I was like so excited about how prepared I was. Yeah, but okay. So section B, expertise and experience, where it says facilities management. I wondered if one of the things that we find often is that terminology that we use pretty regularly is less clear to people. And one of the things that people are unclear about is what falls into facilities. Is it the same thing as maintenance? Is it different than maintenance? Is it the same? And I think that those are departments that are hugely important and have gone through enormous amounts of change. So I don't know if it's a clarification of when we say facility. I mean, I think I know what you mean when you say facilities management, but if there's even just like a parenthetical, like this is what we're talking about. And jump in, team, if you think that I'm being overly prescriptive. Well, that's what I'm
No, I think that's really interesting feedback because, you know what, I don't. Cause yeah, it's facilities management, which could either mean, you know, construction, it could mean, right, custodial, it could mean managing your bond program, right? And that's going to mean different. It's going to be kind of a Rorschach test for some people. And there's not,
I think you're about to get to my second.
there's not like fiscal responsibility on here that I think would be helpful of, you know, managing budgets. That's going to fall under kind of experience as a site principal, but like we know that, but the community may
Right.
not know that.
I'm hearing.
Tell me more.
Say, first of all, fiscal should be on.
Absolutely.
Rick County.
100%.
Here.
Yeah.
and Under facilities, it may be a parenthetical note about includes maintenance and
Yes.
operations, includes bond oversight.
Literally that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Great suggestion. Very good.
Hey, thanks. I only have like one more thing. The only other thing in section. Well, I had a question for you guys in regards to in section B, you have experience as a site principal, which I think we all know why that's valuable, but is there a reason there isn't like experience as anything else isn't like and I have no suggestions for what else to include, nor my thinking that we should, but it's
Suggesting
interesting.
something.
No, I actually don't have an additional suggestion, but I wonder why that's the one that's sort of highlighted as like the lone position.
Yeah, my experience, site principalship is like the calling card for saying you know how to run a school, you know how to work with the union site reps, you know how to manage people, you know how to evaluate people, you know how to run a budget, like
That's
it
helpful.
encompasses so
Mhm.
aspects of running a school organization
Yeah.
that like the director of curriculum, they're pretty specialized, right? And not that that's a bad thing, but
Nope.
what we're trying to do at this point is, again, identify those broad themes and trends that you're looking for. And we're happy to amend that, but principalship
Yep.
really encompasses
Mhm.
a lot of that.
That's why it was a question, not a suggestion, because it's helpful for me to be able to vocalize that to people if they say, I think one of the challenges that I'm sure both of you have faced, both in your time as superintendents and in your current position, is I think a very understandable and real sense from our classified staff that often their roles and positions aren't as valuable. And so I think it's helpful to have a narrative attached to, well, why didn't you include this position or why didn't you include that position? So it's helpful for me just to be able to understand the narrative behind that.
And we're not going to recommend that non-site principals, you know, who haven't had the experience be excluded.
Right. No.
But I totally agree with Roger. And I would add that it's the only position, You have superintendent who's a position of authority and where all the heat comes upon that person.
Mhm.
Yes.
And principals are very close to that. Sometimes a high school principal can get more heat than the superintendent.
Mhm.
No doubt.
And so to be able to handle that gives us a lot of evidence for how you might perform as a superintendent.
Mhm.
But again, it can't, because you have great people who rose up through classified ranks and who became CFOs, for example, who would be really highly qualified candidates. And the last thing I'll say to your point about classified staff is, if a principal is not properly respecting, addressing, and including their classified staff, they're not going to make it.
No.
Right? And so that's a person who we know respects every single person in the organization.
Absolutely.
And I like your suggestion about broadening that category of facilities, because that takes in a broader swath of the class. Like when we were talking about, who we wanted to reach out to, the initial, paperwork that we had included like executive cabinet, and Mike and I were like, no, we need to include the classified leaders in the district.
Yeah.
Director of fiscal, director of accounting, all of those folks.
Mhm.
I just want to back up a little bit because I had not looked at the survey since we talked to these guys like a month ago.
Mhm.
And I don't know if anybody else is needing a refresher, but so what I like about this is that it's actually pretty short, right? So first we're asking people kind of your role, right? So are you administrative staff, classified, certificated, parent, guardian, student, community member, other? I don't know what other would be, not a non-community member, someone from outside of Burbank, just loving to take a survey, I guess. And then under expertise and experiences where Dr. Weisberg has been talking, we've got their rating, whether it's critically important, mildly important, or unimportant, the following expertise or experience. And so what they have under here is teaching and learning experience as a site principal, understanding school and community culture, negotiation/labor relations, facilities management, community relations, and board governance is the last one. So we've talked about adding fiscal, something around fiscal, adding this piece or adding some context around facilities management. And I think the question is like, are there other experiences we would want to get community feedback on? Is there anything on there that we don't want feedback on?
I mean-
Anything that jumped out to folks as I read through that list?
I thought about like media management, and I thought about handling crisis management. But I do feel like that is wrapped up in community relations. And I do get really afraid in surveys like this when there's too many options.
Yep.
It's like the more that we can actually umbrella in these types of questions, it's like, I'm pretty sure research also backs that up, right? That it's like better to do that. And like, what's the quick thinking there? So I actually really love fiscal. I didn't think about that, but I don't have anything to add or take away to this.
The only other thing that I had a comment on, unless you want to keep moving through.
No. I just think let's stay on this one first.
Yeah, I got nothing else
Okay.
I mean, I think keeping it as succinct as possible is really important. Those bigger buckets are great.
Dr. Ikanian, did you have something? Okay. And then the next one was leadership qualities, which may get to some of the other additional ones, right? So the next section, they select the 5 that are most important. Present/visible throughout the district and community, forward thinker/open to new ideas, knowledgeable about current practices surrounding teaching and learning, shows empathy toward a diverse group of education partners, works effectively with the Board of Education, develops shared understanding of district goals and priorities, remains flexible in a dynamic environment, creates an atmosphere of trust, recognizes and celebrates the contributions of others, can effectively navigate political or controversial issues. Don't need that one. So, there's 10 here, I think. Anything there that we would be wanting our community to weigh in on in terms of leadership qualities?
Initially, I was like going to say this and this and this, but I think when you get to the personal attributes, that really speaks to, one of the things that sprung to mind as I was reading these was conflict resolution, but also the ability to make difficult choices. And I think that those attributes are really captured in the personal attributes. So like, exceptional communicator, problem solver, or risk taker. I mean, I don't know if people feel like we need to include something. I think we're all aware that whoever is going to assume the role of superintendent is going to have some difficult choices to make, and that's tough to navigate. And so I don't know if we need a word that somehow sums that up, but I do feel like, you know, there are places where that I think fits in.
I mean, I think what I would add here is, you know, the piece actually that you were talking about at the top around building effective teams.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And knows how to hire and coach effective teams. And give, and maybe I'm trying to figure out where some of this ends up being under personal and some of it ends up being under leadership. It's like giving quality feedback and timely feedback. I feel like it feels very important for us. But yeah, I think it's a lot of this role, especially given the kind of human capital situation that we're in, is how do you build a team that you trust and that you can move forward with?
Very relevant, right? You are. And I think it's a great quality. I don't think, my personal opinion, the feedback part is kind of built into.
Yep.
So getting into that may be kind of.
Yep,
But
that's fair.
I love the team building idea, and I think it's super relevant for Burbank.
Anything else on leadership qualities? Team. All right, so then section D was personal attributes. Approachable / personable, exceptional communicator, goal-oriented, good listener, humble, honest and ethical, inclusive, parentheses, seeks broad input in making decisions, problem solver, resourceful, risk taker, visionary.
I had a comment on, oh, sorry.
Go
I thought
ahead.
you were finished. I wanted to maybe see if we wanted to brainstorm visionary or get a little bit more refined. Consider adding, something that speaks to what we want to see in visionary. I feel like visionary has kind of almost changed into a thought leader kind of these days. But the only word that I felt really missing here, and I'm still trying to check and see if it's really in there anywhere other than visionary, is kind of an innovator.
I like.
And I think that word also encompasses what was in above, which is someone who is maintaining an expertise of what is the best practices and being that kind of thought leader around what's going on in our nation, our state, and our county, and keeping that a top priority. So like, to me, I was like, does that get encompassed by the word visionary? Is it the right word? Do we need another word? That would be the only thing I wanted to. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I like that. It just seems that,
A good slash.
yeah. Like innovator seems like they're creating something tangible. When it's visionary, it's just so completely subjective.
Totally more
Exactly. I'm like, what you feel is visionary to what I feel. And I know we want to have people, but
It feels a little less action oriented.
exactly, exactly.
So this is not necessarily one that I agree with, but I do think that it might come up for some of our community members, right? That one thing that we hear from folks is that we may want people that take the history and traditions of Burbank very seriously. And I want to respect the fact that some people may rank that very high.
Yeah.
But I also want to be able to look at the data if people don't rank that as high as other things.
Mm-hmm.
It's a discussion item.
Well, she just brought it up.
So I'm saying traditional.
But I think what you're saying, if I'm hearing you, is that definitely has come up, right? There's this distinct feeling from many people, not all, is, there's a Burbank way, right? Am I right in that?
Yeah.
So the question becomes, I think, do we as a board, so you're saying like, I would like to know if that is more of a myth that everybody values it. I mean, I definitely know I've heard it a lot, both from the community and from staff. Doesn't matter what my personal opinion is about it, but I mean, I think it is a trope that is spoken enough that I think it could be something like, how we phrase it would be I mean, I don't know if it's like respectful of district culture but then that sounds a little DEI.
Have you guys had to deal with that? I mean, have you come across that?
You were just, I think, thinking the same thing. Like if you're trying to draw a distinction, this is where I think it could add some value to your point. If you added something that said, respectful of district traditions and cultures or traditions and practices,
Mhm.
right, then you could comparatively see what your feedback is when you look at that one versus the one maybe right above it, which is an innovator.
Mm-hmm.
I think
I think what
That's not a,
Turn on your mic, please. So I can talk about this.
We're looking at leadership skills here,
No.
not traditions.
No,
I don't know where you're going with.
Dr. Agakanian, let me talk about it. I would love to explain this to you. So we had a whole conversation about fundraising, right? And how we fundraise. And there was a lot of controversy around boosters, there's a lot of controversy around fundraising committees, and there's a lot of hesitancy around, can we do these things? And the response, and not necessarily from Dr. Macias, but the response in the past has been, these are sacred cows. We can't do anything about it because that's the way we've always done it. Right? And so there are community members who will say, it is important to me that we continue to do things in the way that we have always done it. Which
I can
I
also
want
come
to
across
get the
and say,
feedback.
I'm innovative and I want to change. Again, if you don't have any of this in writing and it's just a myth out there to ask for it, it really defeats the purpose of what even innovation is.
may I
It's just what
Jack,
communities look.
can I interject to say that if we're talking about a certain type of respect for culture, I actually see 3 different things on here that I think really embody the type of person that would hear and respect that. So I think humility, good listener, and inclusive are, and because it specifically says seeks broad input. I feel like those things, like if that person is committed to this idea of respect and traditions, they would check those boxes, in my opinion. Like I think there's things for them, rather than take away and talk about something so niche.
I will say this, and again, correct me if I'm wrong. Like, one of the reasons why I think it would be important, and I'm not sure that I'm advocating for it or what word we would use, but something that I am very nervous about is finding a superintendent who is not going to be able to push back against that, who is not going to be able to say, I understand that Burbank's done it this way for 25 years. But it's not the most effective way to do it. And I hear it and I know that that's the way it's been done. And so I'm not saying we add a word, but I would say that, like, you know, we all know that that is a big part of the tension in the district, both for employees and community members. And I say that with no judgment, just as an observation. So the question becomes, I think, to President Ponser-Kamkar's point is that something we want to tease out from community, or is it something, like, I know that it matters to many of us. Do we need to have that on a survey for us to keep that present in mind? And I don't think that we do, but I do think for me, it is an extremely important attribute that I will be looking for.
Well, and I guess, so maybe I would actually change my feedback then a little bit, because I really appreciate that. I think you're right? Someone who sees hewing to tradition as most important are going to check those things and not innovation. And I think you're right about that. And so I think, to Dr. Weisberg's feedback, what might be more important then is, because what she might want to see then, for example, on section C, is someone who can effectively drive change in, processes that haven't changed in a long time, right? Or, drive systems wide change.
Yeah, I'm also really curious. Sorry to interrupt you, Laura. what do you both think?
Yes.
Because this is data collection.
Right.
This is our VIP data to start like disseminating and separating out. So I'm really curious if you both think that there's a way for us to draw that out so that we do have some kind of data analyze how impactful that sentiment is.
My opinion, I like what you said. You said that the inclusive part of it, you know, how they go about working with the community. And I mean, what you've had here is the beginnings of what could be a really outstanding interview question when it comes for that.
Mm-hmm.
Right, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because how do you go about making change? Because if you are, I don't care whether you are staying with the traditions or not, if you are not highly aware
Mm-hmm.
what their traditions are and you try to go about making change, well, you're not going to be successful.
Right.
And so I don't think you need to specifically say that. I think that in fact, by saying it, you may be seen as either being pro-change or anti-change.
Mm.
But so I think that these things do it. I don't know if a change agent is listed on here. Is it on there?
No,
Your problem
Innovation.
solver.
Feels like a better way, or rather than, because to your point, I don't want to be sort of insinuating or looking for someone who's going to change just to change. I think innovation really speaks to your point about, you know, best practices and not being afraid to embrace new things, which really speaks to, I think, what we've been talking about. And I do really want to, you know, rely on your expertise to, the longer this becomes, I think the less effective it ends up being.
I think, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just to say, it's just interesting when we're saying this. I had lunch with my cousin today, who's an urban planner, and he was talking about something that he does and in terms of getting people to participate when he was putting together a new library. And it was in some way like evoking even memories for people. And somebody said, oh, it was just the carpet when I went to the library. And he said, finding that, it was a way for them to feel very included very immediately. He goes, and it also then gave us, when people came in and said, well, how come you didn't put the purple tree that I said that we had? And he said, and you could have a really good dialogue as to why that was not working. He goes, but they felt they were heard, they were listened to, and that people did understand what they were saying. And yet they could then have a very good narrative in terms of that discussion in terms of, well, because for whatever reason, they had that already. It was a springboard to dialogue.
My own perspective is, and I'm listening to what you're saying, it sounds like you're trying to use the survey to inform you as to your community's feedback around whether they're going to be an effective change agent or effective change management as a skill set versus someone who may be more on the side that you said, the respectful, humble, all of that.
Mhm.
And I agree with you. They probably, if they're wired that way, they're probably going to check that box. I'm not a big fan of visionary because I'm very practical and I like boots on the ground kinds of answers, questions. So to me, instead of having visionary, maybe a thought is to have it say something like effective change management, and you can kind of compare that to the question that you brought up earlier. And they're both very practical. They're both real simple. And I appreciate what Mike said is, I'm hoping that as we're going through these, you're taking some mental notes about how these things then can be used to develop screening criteria and interview questions, because that's where it's all going to come from.
Yep.
And, you know, you're hearing us, we're not arguing, we're just giving, we have a different back. I do like the visionary one because not necessarily, 'cause I don't know if it's the right thing for Burbank or not, because you're going to ask.
Right.
whether That's the right thing or not. And I don't mind change being a separate, effective change agent being a part of it too. Well, maybe some wording related to that, because I think that is different than what's on there.
Mhm. I think what I have been thinking about, right, is trying to anticipate what we might hear at some of these community forums so that we can then have quantitative data behind that, right? And so that is what I'm trying to add here. but
I
yeah,
promise you.
I'm sure I will miss something.
promise you That regardless of what the survey says, we're gonna hear all that at the community. meeting.
Yep.
And so I think that keep it simple, as we've said, but
Mhm.
a few changes like this, that maybe you're anticipating are gonna be helpful, but, and we document everything in those community meetings.
Great.
That becomes part of the leadership profile as well, so.
May I also add to what I think your point is as well, is that there might be a sort of underlying fear that all voices are represented. And this survey gives us very tangible, breakdown of what types of groups in our community are saying what as to who's showing up in the community forums. Again, as we were talking about accessibility and making sure everybody can express their voice somehow, this is the most accessible way, that survey. Would you agree in that that's the case, or would you say that?
We'll be disappointed if you don't have at least 1,000 people respond. This
Yeah.
is What, I mean, especially, particularly if we do, Dr. Rice has had students involved too, and make time for staff to do all that. We're gonna get a lot of responses, so I agree.
Okay. So, I mean, I kind of just going back to the logistics of it after the discussion, I think that what would give us the best data is adding something that reflects that change agent. I would even say if we want to make a separate line that's change agent / innovator, because I think that echoes that feeling and that will or will not be checked, accompanied by others. So does everybody think that works? That works for me?
Keep visionary separate and do change agent / innovator, or take.
I was saying, I think your point was valid actually, on like the idea of like, can you set a vision for us? Visionary is a different word. So I think the idea of change agent and innovator, or just I'm happy to get rid of innovator. If we wanted to just keep, no, okay. Change agent / innovator is the same kind of echoing bucket.
Yeah. The innovator is the idea that change agent is actually getting it done, right? So it's like the ability to actually get the innovation done.
It's like to think, but not for further discussion here, just in my brain.
Okay, we're so close, guys. And then the last piece is just the district conditions. So I'm just going to read through these. These are strongly agree to strongly disagree. Students receive a high quality education that prepares them for high school, college, career, and life. Academic goals are aligned across the district. Adequate resources are provided to support student learning. Students feel valued and connected to their schools. Staff members feel valued and connected to their workplace. School safety is a high priority. Facilities are clean and well kept. Communication from the district is clear and timely. The district is responsive to the diverse interests / needs of its families. The district is constantly improving. Any additions to general conditions? That's going to be fun to receive. I look forward to receiving that feedback.
My biggest question is whether or not people feel like we need to add something here about accessibility. Accessibility, like ADA, accessibility, like, we talk here about adequate resources are provided, which I think is great, but I think the actual physical structure, and to some degree, we know the answer to this question, or we think we know the answer to this question. But I wondered if people thought we needed to include, and I hate suggesting something because then it won't be 10 anymore. Maybe we can take it now. But something like facilities
Or ADA compliant or something.
are accessible to, like,
Could it be clean? Facilities are clean, well kept, and accessible?
but accessible in that case, I think sounds like it means the community can access them. I wonder, and again, this isn't something I'm married to, but I wonder if we need to include something that speaks specifically to like ADA compliance.
That's a really good idea, because I'm thinking,
Tell me why.
well,
Sorry, I'm not.
So the why,
Curious where it came.
awesome.
the why came from, as I was thinking about, this is the only other comment I had, promise, on the survey was, I will just speak for myself. I have heard many times about a lack of ADA compliance, whether it's, like just among other things, like there not being ramps, the playgrounds not being usable for students who are who are disabled. Like there's things that I've heard consistently. Another thing that's come in front of us quite a bit is the lack of emergency lighting for our students who are deaf and hard of hearing. And so I think there is a sense, and obviously these are smaller members of the community, but to me, unbelievably important. And so, again, I guess where I struggle on, do we need this or not, is because this is a feedback survey for a superintendent search. This isn't a like a facilities master plan. So
We use this data.
right, and so that's where the hesitancy comes in. Like,
Actually, that was my question, actually, like,
no, that's why. I
what
brought it up.
is the objective of this question for you all? Because I'm a little thinking like, even, we might even want to reword the way that it's like presented a little bit based on what you're looking to get out of this.
Well, what we hope to get out of this is, and let me kind of transition a little bit to the next part, and that is, we're going to take this data and all of the qualitative data that we talk with people about, and we're going to put that together into a leadership profile. It's going to be a significant document that talks about those three questions to a high degree. And it's what you're looking for in a superintendent. And in many ways, it's a roadmap for the new superintendent, right? So she or he's going to come in here and they're going to go, okay, here's what the community is looking for. And then you as a board are going to have that too and say, does this match with what our current goals are? There'll be some things that just resonate with you. Yes, that just reinforces what we've been thinking and what we've been hearing. Those things may push you and say, maybe we need to change the direction. So for both the board and the superintendent, and hopefully you're going to be working very closely together on this, it gives a nice roadmap for the future. And that's what we think the leadership profile will do. And a lot of that comes from the survey.
So do you feel like then with that feedback, the inclusion of ADA compliance is an important addition or no for a district condition?
I mean, what do you think you know the answer to that already?
No.
I haven't,
Oh, you mean, do I think I know the answer to the question?
You mentioned that.
I think I would know the answer from the deaf and hard of hearing community. I think I might know but from others, I don't know that it's something that occurs to people unless you need those accommodations.
Right.
So maybe it is this is true. This isn't me like asking for the sake of asking. Like, I really don't know if it belongs here or if it's something that's part of a conversation further down the
We're
line.
going to get a lot of don't knows would be
Yeah,
my guess.
even if we don't have the survey, we're already hearing what you're saying. It's a
Okay.
question we'll be asking.
Great,
We can talk to people about it.
great.
yeah, I'm just saying, I agree with that, just in terms of, because looking at this, if this is my child and I'm a parent filling this out and I'm saying all the problems, I might go and click off that it's the issue of my student feeling valued or it being, safety is a high priority, because I know it's not. So I don't want to basically, confound what these questions mean when it's something that really is not something that's specifically safety, but it's safety for a specific group. And we've got a tag for it, which is ADA.
So
We'll leave it, but believe me, we've heard this conversation and it's something that, do you guys have a special education task force or any kind of parent group for support group for special education?
there is a meeting, yes.
Yeah. We will reach out and
Okay.
make sure we hear from that community because it's a very important and significant part of it.
And I think I just had not made the connection that this part of the survey is when they're asking the focus group, like, what are the strengths and what are the challenges? This is designed to answer
We'll
them.
get that.
And then just the last question is open-ended. So thank you for letting us go through this
Great.
line.
Yeah,
item.
really helpful.
I don't know if that was
you very
what you
Taking
intended,
the
but
time.
that's what I.
And we're happy to be here. Let's keep on going. So the next part is the leadership profile. And I kind of alluded to that already, but we're going to bring that to you for your final review before it gets put out there. But I mean, it's something we're very proud of when we put it together. I mean, it's a great, almost a state of the district kind of thing, right? And again, we hope the district and the new superintendent use it. We will send it out to all the applicants immediately after our board meeting. I think it's February 5th, but we'll come back to the timeline in a little bit. And so we'll have a lot of people who've already applied. It'll be a public document. It will go on the search page so people can see that, where things are. But I mean, again, it will convince people who are kind of on the fence on applying. They'll look at that and say, am I a good match or not? It also helps us out a lot in that right now we're saying, hey, this is a good opportunity for people. We're already talking to some people about this, but we have so much to learn. And by the time this process is done, we will be able to confidently tell people this is a great match for you, or you would need to really develop in these areas for it to be a great match with.
Can I ask a clarifying question on the timeline of like the posting of the job? Is it live? The posting of a job?
It is not live yet, but it will be tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Okay.
We're waiting for this conversation.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
I know because I was curious as to if you use a kind of just generalized job description, or at that point you already start morphing it to Burbank, or if it's something that you kind of use as a generalized post.
We'll come to that in the next part. We're gonna go
Oh,
through that time.
got it. Okay, perfect. I will wait.
Okay, yeah, great question. Okay. So candidate qualifications. Let's just talk about this because this is part of your questions as we go forward. When we advertise this, what experience are you looking for? Is there any kind of preferred experience that you're looking for? Are you looking for at least 2 years of senior cabinet level experience? I mean, are you looking for someone who's been a site principal? When you're down the road, are you looking for someone who has a doctorate degree? Is that highly important to you? Can you not have a doctorate degree? You do not need a credential to be a superintendent. You can be, LAUSD has hired admirals and governors, right? There are if bureaucracy is important, those people can be the best possible choice for you, right? But do you want a credentialed person for this? Do you want someone, so are there things that you're looking for in particular that you want us to push? I mean, the generic would probably be something like senior cabinet level experience desired, because what that does is it means they've had interactions with the Board of Education. They've been privy to closed session conversations. They know how that works. They know how things work at that level. Our preference would be senior site principal preferred, but not wanting to eliminate it with that. I don't know what your feeling is on doctorate. So are there strong feelings you have either way about the qualifications you're looking for?
I'll let my colleagues go first.
First, straight up, I would definitely say site principal. That's one of the, looking after, Emily, we got all of your, the evaluation, the superintendent. So I was looking at different sites in terms of.
Yeah.
Superintendent. Yeah, no, the evaluation rubric. So I was like, oh, look at this. And so I started looking at other places, and I don't know if it was super eval or what, but one of the things they said is straight out, looking to evaluate a superintendent, everything that basically a principal does, and then a little bit more, but everything a principal does. And exactly what you were saying earlier, you deal with as a superintendent, maybe on a larger level, but you understand the core of what was going on. So for sure, site principal, successful site principal.
Successful site.
Yeah, no, seriously, successful site
Well said.
principal.
We measure that.
Oh, you can measure that.
You
Yes.
can find that out.
Yeah.
You can.
I mean, I think both successful from like an operational and from an academic point of view,
Right.
right?
Absolutely,
Like I
yes.
really want someone who's been very focused on instructional goals and has shown instructional progress. I think that's where Burbank Unified has historically and continues to shine is in academics. We had we've had like highly recognized schools, and we want to continue to do that. I think site principal is really important. Or I think certainly for me, it's like site experience, right? I think that was something that we definitely heard previously, right? Was just wanting to make sure that our senior leadership could connect with people that were on the site, that they knew what it was like to be on a site. kids around all the time and what that kind of day looked like, right? And knew what it would look like when you implemented a policy and had to actually do it, bell to bell, right? And so I think certainly site experience, whether that's classified or certificated, is required.
I would add, just kind of looking at time and length in roles. This is just something across the board hiring wise, somebody that's hopped around from jobs. Like, I think that a minimum of 2 years as a principal, maybe even that's too low. And then, I would be interested to hear what the rest of us kind of feel about cabinet versus superintendency. But I know that I would really be excited about someone who's been in the seat, who has been a former superintendent, and again, for at least 1 year.
Mhm.
I think that that's something that I would add to the top of the list.
We like a minimum, well, we like it or not, but I'll say 3 years is a better term than 2.
I was thinking 5.
Yeah, yeah, 5's better. I mean, but I think 3 doesn't eliminate people who've been successful. You have a thought?
I want us also to, I know we're looking for a perfect candidate, but if you really start putting so many details, you're gonna have a tough time finding candidates. I want us to be cautious. We want the perfect candidate, of course, but you're the experts too, so I want to hear from you what the general, in your experience, what are some of the questions you tend to get more response versus having at the end like 1 or 2 candidates, applying, because yes, we want the perfect candidate, but we also have to be reasonable and understand.
Totally concur. These are very, very difficult jobs. And people who have the courage and, temerity to stand up and say, yeah, I'll take that on, are not growing on trees. The last search, I think we had like 12 applicants, and of the 12, we might be more here in Burbank because highly desirable district, but we had 12-ish. And I think there were 4 or 5 that ended up being where it was 4, ended up being interviewed. So you're right. You don't want to artificially narrow down the pool, but you also don't want to dilute the importance of the position and the strength of the candidate pool. So my advice, and Mike, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it too, is that you try to write a posting that leaves that wiggle room that you want. Like, it might say 3 to 5 years of successful site level experience. It might say 2 to 4 years of cabinet level, superintendency experience preferred. You use language that says, this is kind of what we want, but we're open to the best possible.
Yeah, now, also, I want to follow up on that. My question also, based on your experience, so this being the size of a district it is, but also it's large, but it's diverse, but it's also in crossroads in terms of the past, the traditions, and then you got this new generation of, actually a very large immigrant community coming in. It's a little tougher. It's not your traditional district has been big, where traditions have been kept in a sense, where it's not going to change, because that's the reality of Burbank and where we are. And then also, in a sense, also a community that's, going to change itself. So I also want, that's very important to me, someone who has been in a district that is going to change. Because, just based on my experience here, the ability to adapt is also very important. It's because it changes, and it's going to change. Even in the housing and what's coming and going right now, there is a very, very, renter community here that really operate on what the the job markets are here and there are a lot of changes happening.
So
Yeah.
how would you?
I don't know,
State that.
I'm asking them.
Oh, I think, first of all, there's so much attractive about this community. In this district, right? I mean, all the things you mentioned, that's America right now. I mean, this is not an uber elite district. It is a high performing district. There are many positive aspects to it. It's not a high poverty district. I mean, it's America. It's a diverse place, right? And so I do believe it's a very attractive place. I mean, one of the things that candidates will look for is, can I be effective and can I be successful in this district, right? And I think that the interactions with the board and the interview process will matter a lot. I think we will get more than 12 candidates. I think that, I worked with La Cañada and I worked with Palm Springs. We had far more than that. I hope you have 6 candidates that you want to meet. I mean, you could have 8. If you have more than 8, that's a lot. We'll talk about that, but I do think you'll get quality applicants here. We've already talked to a few people who know we're here and who are interested. And so I think we can do it.
I would add too that I have seen many postings in response to. I've seen many postings that call out experience in a culturally linguistic diverse district. And if
Yeah.
that's something you want, we can add that to the posting. No problem. I've seen it many times. Also, I would say you're going to get sitting superintendents applying. I already know of one who's very likely to apply, and there's also cabinet level people, associates, assistant soups who are reaching out to Mike and I already. So, you, like most superintendent jobs, you are likely to attract I'll just take a job wherever I can find a job kinds of people applying. But those quickly go, and our job is to not decide for you, but it's to tier the applicants. You're going to get some in that bottom tier. You just people have it on auto reply. Any job that comes up, apply, right? But you are also going to get some very top tier folks. I can almost guarantee that already.
Well,
And I
would say-
also,
so
sorry.
just in terms of what you were saying, in terms of saying somebody who has experience in being a superintendent. So we were talking in terms of, yes, you've had experience as a site director, but coming into this situation right now, but kind of what's going on with Burbank, I think it definitely would be beneficial to have really focused, have somebody who has experience with being superintendent, and I don't know how to say it, but that's kind of weathered some storms before and has a really sturdy umbrella.
And I appreciate you echoing kind of that sentiment. I was thinking about how to quantify what you were saying, Dr. Agakanian, because I would substantially agree that someone who has been in a district, let's say they have been a superintendent, but they've been in a district where the population hasn't changed. The population is not diverse. That is a very different category of a superintendent than somebody that we are looking for, because this population is in a significant changing moment. So I would say that is another, notch on the belt if they've been a part of a community that has been undergoing active change. So maybe that's the language, like the preferred a community that has been in flux or something like that.
And I will say, I think that is something that maybe gets to some of these interview questions, right? Is it might not be the same exact kind of change that we're going through, but it might be it might be their approach to a similar kind of change, or a change that they have had to lead people through that makes sense to us, right? Because I don't know that we're going to be able to say that we're going to be able to match like for like in every case. And I know that's not what you're saying. But I think you're right.
Yeah, I like that. I'll use my personal career as an example. I began my career teaching in Oakland in a high school. I was a principal in Stockton in a Title I middle school, and then I became the principal of Malibu High School, right? And then I
Went
became
from
the
Stockton to
superintendent.
Malibu?
Yeah, my son calls it the greatest career move of all time.
I can,
I then was superintendent of Manhattan Beach, right? And so you might pigeonhole my admin career as someone who hasn't worked in districts like this. And yet it was my first love, right? And so I think we can't, I encourage you not to pigeonhole people because, you know, you get at the core of who they are as a person and you may find that their experience, earlier experience may be differential or whatever the case may be, but I just keep an open mind, you know.
To respond to a couple, I think, of the more concrete things you asked, I don't think a doctorate is a requirement. Yeah, I think,
No disrespect to to my doctors here, but
I say it all the time. Some of the dumbest people I've ever met were in my doctoral program, and they probably say that about me. But
that's.
uh-huh. Again, when you have to tell someone it's a joke, it's not a joke.
It is a joke,
Okay.
a wife one.
Okay. So but that being said, I mean, I think it goes without saying that we want somebody that you made a point earlier about, and when you were talking about innovator, about somebody who is sort of, is up to date on current best practices. I think the thing that I'm going to get that I think a lot about, and I don't think is something that we should add is, I don't remember, one of you said, I think you said this, is that you want to surround yourself with a really magnificent team of people. So the goal isn't to find a superintendent who can do everything perfectly, but the goal is to find a superintendent who's able to bring a cohesive team together, who's exceptional at what they do. And so, when I think about where we're excelling as a district right now, I do think where that lies is in instruction. And where we're struggling seems to be sort of systems management. And so the question then becomes, like, how much of a weight do we put on that skill set? Because, a lot of the exec cabinet that's still here are is our instruction team. And, because of the quality of our teachers and our school site admin, and I think that our academics have only improved in the time that I've been on board. And so for me, I don't know that we need to add something. I guess for both of you, the question is when you're looking, what are we, when you're saying, are there qualifications you want to add? I'm sorry, I'm all over the place, but my assessment is instruction we're strong in. Where we're not strong is in systems management.
So my take on that, and I appreciate all of that, is
I agree.
you're kind of delving into when you're actually interviewing candidates and what you're looking for.
For sure.
The conversation you're going to have.
For sure.
Under the umbrella of confidentiality about that, you're going to say, okay, this person has super strong systems background, and this person we'll figure it out, right? And yeah, and I agree, we don't need to call it out right now, but believe me, it'll be a question we're looking at.
But could we say something like that? For me also, I'd say doctorate is not necessary, but I'm thinking admin credential, master's in administration.
well, remember that's, so I think that gets to a broader question, which is, do we care whether someone has a California admin credential? Do we care if someone's coming from out of state?
Yes, that's what I'm
You're
saying.
already saying that you have site leadership experience, then they'll have a credential.
Right.
In your
But
experience,
we
have you ever
requiring
had
that?
someone apply that didn't have a background or was not? I mean, I'm
Yes.
just curious.
Yeah.
We have people who have
Yes.
nothing to do with public schools applying.
Yeah.
I mean, Dr. Agakanian, we had a superintendent who did not have an admin credential,
Mhm.
2 superintendents
But
ago.
we have people who we'll
You
show
got
them
the
to you.
job,
You
didn't
will
you?
see,
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
you will see every application, and there'll be some that have no business being in.
Again, so the point I'm trying to make is you will figure it out because I don't want to, again, because I've seen people who didn't have the degree or whatever, and they did a wonderful job. and,
Sure.
So I don't want to also say, well, must have this, and this.
I think we have great feedback on that.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Yes.
Okay, but in terms of, we're saying school site experience, but we're not necessarily saying California admin credential because we are open to people from out of state. Yes, or
Have to be California admin
Okay.
credential, but I'm just saying, I guess also truthfully, and I'm sorry if any of you's offended, but as a teacher, a certificated teacher, when you hear somebody comes in and they're gonna be leading and you're just like, okay, we all have our credentials, right? You know, and somebody comes and says, yeah, you don't. And you're like, and I have to get, and I know that's a prejudice that I know a lot of us as teachers, we do, but it's just something I'm still, I think that going through the trouble of getting an admin credential definitely says something in terms of how much training and how much understanding and background you have.
But Loretta, the way I think what they're saying is if you've been site admin anywhere.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's
You'll
what my
have-
first thing was, being a principal.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But I said, so doctorate, what I was saying is doctorate is not on my my list, but admin credential, yes.
We can, I'm sorry, I was gonna, to your point, if the board were comfortable with it, it's not that hard to put in successful teaching experience or desirable.
Mhm.
Most superintendents that come to you will have successful teaching, not all of them, but most.
Well, we're definitely hearing successful site leadership experience.
Well, it depends on what avenue they're coming from.
Mhm.
Like folks come up through the ranks in the businesses around.
Mhm.
A lot of assistants, that's what business schools have been hired into superintendent positions who have never sat in a classroom.
yeah.
And I think what's important, and maybe even for clarification to the community, this is a position is leadership, management, but also, of course, the education. But that's why it's a difficult position. And as you said, doesn't grow, it's not something common. It's a complex process to be a superintendent. And I know you'll figure out what their strengths are.
I think just to wrap up, I agree that a principalship, having been a principal is going to be a great thing, but it isn't like, I'm not against seeing people that have not done that. And I also think that we've all shared that doctrine is not necessary.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm just going to say, is there any other like wrap ups on that before we move on? Cool.
Okay. Thank you so much. That's helpful to us, and I think we can get that together and do our best with that and get it out. We'd like it to go live tomorrow. That's all
Yep.
Roger's job. So we
Yep.
have some work to do on this,
Yep.
but no, we'll work together on it. Are we good moving forward? Okay, so let's look at the timeline. We've gone over this engagement phase, but just so you know the dates of that, it starts on Monday. Their survey will run through the 30th. We've already got, the form ready to go. We'll make the alterations we talked about today, and get that out and so that's a 2-week plus window to be open. We'll push it out through all the avenues we talked about, right? The focus group and interviews we'll again, in that same window of time, 2.5 weeks, we'll get all that information out there. And then the community forum we talked about already today. We have set a date for the live one, and we'll work on the date for the Zoom one that's happening. Okay. Roger, the activation phase?
Yeah, so we alluded to this earlier, but the EdJoin posting will be going live tomorrow. Obviously, we didn't want to post anything before we talk to you all, that you're comfortable with our timeline. Our proposal is to run the job from January 9th through the 16th, close it on the 16th. We can go through the selection phase in a minute. And that would be through EdJoin, which is the premier, most common website that you post these kinds of jobs in education on, but also in the AXA EdCal, both the print version and the online version. You'll notice a difference in the dates, and I asked Mike about this, and he correctly reminded me that the print ad, if you run it on the 9th, it still has to be mailed out to people because it's a physical document. And by the time they get it, it doesn't make sense to do that. So, but the online version will run that all the way till the day that it's due. And then our goal is to finish that leadership profile by February 5th at the board meeting, present it to you all, get it posted, get it out to applicants, and make sure that you're okay with the description of the person that we're all trying to help find. This gives us about 5.5 weeks, and Mike and I agreed that we wanted to talk to you about that. We're pretty confident that you're not so early in the game that people are not thinking about this, and you're not so late in the game that you're falling behind the curve. I think you're, realistically speaking, you're about a month ahead of what we would expect to see, which I think is just perfect. You're gonna get the jump on a lot of people. Our manager for our ESS group, Suzette Lovely, was sharing with us that they are expecting, she monitors these things very closely, expecting a wave of folks maybe to come in later in the spring, and you're ahead of the curve on that. So we're excited to share with you that we think we can do this in the 5.5 weeks. And based on the initial response that Mike and I have alluded to, there's a lot of interest in the position already that I don't think we need to extend it beyond that. But we would, through the updates that Mike would be providing you, or we would be providing you, you would be informed if we thought things were stalling, or we thought we needed to extend it for any reason at all. That's going to be one of the first things we would share. So I guess before we move to the next section, the selection phase, if we could get a thumbs up on concurrence of the closing date on the 16th, then that's a big piece to the posting tomorrow. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, selection wise. So when we have all this out there, it closes on the 16th of February. By the 20th, we will get you copies of all the application materials that are out, right? We will, if you want them in print, we'll give it in print. If you want them just online, we can get them online. What are you guys used to? Okay, all right. It's a lot. No, it's not too much. It's a lot. But that's not your problem. I mean, we're offering. So we don't need to know right now. We'll ask you again, but just know it's out there. Okay, all right. So you'll have them for about a week before we to review them. It'll be a lot of work. You got to go through all that and see those things. When we give them, when we come, well, hang on, I'll wait for a second there. So just our two jobs are to be your ambassadors, right? The board's ambassador and the district's ambassador. Ambassador means putting you in the best light out there, right? We're representing your best interests that are going forward. Our other job is to care for all the applicants that are coming in here and give them the best advice we can. We developed, you know, we love this job as Roger mentioned earlier, because we get to mentor and support people who are looking to have the same types of careers that we had. And that's a great part of our job. So we will tell them whether it's a good fit or not. Part of that care is confidentiality, right? So again, this part of it, the process, we want to be as transparent as possible. But when it comes down to candidates, I will be asking you guys to sign a confidentiality agreement that you're moving forward with this, because it can't get out. You may have a candidate who says they're applying. Okay, they can say that, right? But we're not going to confirm or deny it. We're going to just say, you know, our communications with applicants are just with you as they go forward. We're also having Cindy sign a confidentiality agreement, because she'll be part of this and seeing part. And if there's people in HR who might be seeing, helping us with that, they will as well. But it'll be minimal, the amount of, because everyone needs to have the confidence that their application, and I know you know this, but I'll say it anyway. If I'm the superintendent of a district and it's going well, I don't want to get out there that I'm applying somewhere else. There will be a time when it has to be out there. But I mean, I don't want it out there. And so I think it helps you to get the best possible field of candidates as we go forward. Yeah.
And I would just add real quick, Mike, that if you ever hear, hey, somebody came up to me and said they heard from somebody that this person, please call us and tell us. We want to help you to keep things as confidential as possible. And for the public's edification, there are superintendent contracts that exist that say if you're going to make the finals, if you're going to be interviewed, you have to inform us, right? And so if it gets out before that stage and then the board finds out, there are very real repercussions that that person could.
So on the week of February 23rd, and we don't need to set a date tonight, we could if you wanted to. We're going to suggest a closed session meeting where we review the candidate slate that's out there. We will have done research on each candidate and we will put them into tiers, right? I mean, you heard this before from probably several of the firms, but we'll say tier one is, my goodness, this is a high quality candidate who checks a lot of the boxes that you guys have mentioned. We think that you should meet them. We think you should talk to them and they should be seriously considered. Tier two is, this is a very interesting person who checks a lot of the boxes, but maybe has something that that was very important to the community or very important to you that that maybe you want to think twice about. In our experience with boards, a lot of tier two is a very common person selected. I mean, because you go, "Oh, I love this particular strength that they have. We want to talk with them." And then tier three of those persons that we just think are either aren't ever going to be ready or aren't ready, right? And so again, but you're going to see the tier threes. And if you told us we want to see one of those, that let's do it. We'll say, let's go board. Let's talk to those people. But that's how we'll organize it. And then you're going to help us select, like I said, 4, 6, at most 8. I mean, interviews are probably an hour each. So you imagine it's a full day we're going to have together. So you got to think about that. And however many you select, we're going to do a full background check on them. We're going to do a financial background, social media background. We're going to do a credential check on them. We're going to do a degree check on them, all those things. So when they walk into your room, you will have assurances that they are who they say they are. And if there is a problem, we would talk to you about, do you really want to meet this person because this came? So that's in our closed session meeting. We're suggesting that you reserve the weekend of March 7th and 8th. I know that spring break is, I think, the weekend following that. So I think it's a good weekend to do. We will say in the job description that this will be the weekend for the interview. So they can know now that they should put that weekend aside if they're going to do it. The 7th will be a full day. I mean, even if it's 4 candidates, 4 hours of interviews plus deliberations, right? If it's 6 hours of interviews, plus, you get the picture. But in the end, after the March 7th date, we will have 1, 2, maybe 3 people we want to bring back the next day. Dr. Rice and I will then call all the candidates and let them know either they're coming back or that they're not coming back. One of the things we both take great pride in is when the answer is no, we're going to help them along, right? There are certain things we can and cannot say, but we're going to be supportive and be there for them in the future. And because obviously to make the 6, they were a highly qualified candidate. So that's our job, is to talk to them and treat them with respect and care along the way. Sunday.
So,
Yeah,
Dr. Matthews, so that first round of candidate interviews, that is the full board and both of you in the interview with the candidate. Is that right?
That's correct.
Thank you.
And we'll have questions that we put together that every candidate will get the same question. Right? And so it's fair that way. We get the same picture from each candidate as it goes forward.
Before we move to that,
I'm
can I
sorry.
just jump in? Also, the people who are not selected will take care of that. Your staff won't have
yeah.
to deal with that. So they'll be contacted by us.
And they'll, they know. They know how it works. We've been told no. I don't know if you have. I've been told no. And it's
Many times.
we know what it feels like not to hear anything. I may have applied to a local district here way back when and not heard anything, so. But that was, you stick with it and it all works out, right? I mean, it's an opportunity. And then the Sunday is the final interviews, and that's more of a conversation. That's more casual. That's a time to follow up on questions that you got in your head the other day. It's a chance to see how they fit with the board, right? I mean, how they interact with you. That's maybe, it's at least an hour, hour and a half most. And then after that, we're deliberating. You could ask them to come back for a third interview. I have not been a part of that. I don't recommend it, but again, you have to feel comfortable with all that. We will have done reference checking beforehand, so we think you'll know what you need to know at that time. But I hope that when you come out of Sunday, March 8th, we're good to go. So I guess, are you available March 7th and 8th? Is that going to work? Any questions about that process? So we'll go really early.
Seventh?
March 7th and 8th.
7th and 8th. Yeah, that's great.
2 months, right? Yeah.
Well, he's checking. I am curious if folks have done like maybe after this kind of second round, like a community panel with the potential selected candidate, or last 2 candidates where everybody signs an NDA or something like that you've seen be successful.
There are states that do, Texas does that, where they have to put the candidate there in public and they ask for feedback. We do not recommend it at all. We think that this is a board decision, right? And you heard feedback at this meeting, and you're going to hear plenty of feedback all along the way. But in the end, this is the person who you're hiring to carry out your policies, your goals and everything else. And so we do not recommend that.
You'll lose applicants.
Yeah.
Mike.
Yeah.
No, it's a question that has come up, right? As people have asked us, okay, you're going to get feedback about the general candidate, or general candidate profile.
Right.
But what about the actual person, right? Because I just think we're going to need to do a lot of showing our work when we present this person to our community about how they fit this profile, right?
That should be a motivation then for people to really take the preliminary work in terms of the surveys and really get that word out there, because all of this is really serious. It's not one of those, oh, we're just kind of just doing it, it's
And
like,
we'll
no,
put a
it's
press release
just
together. Where
serious.
We don't think you need to go in excruciating detail about how they met all the criteria. Again, we're gonna have the webpage that talks about all the processes we did, that has all the different information out there. This is gonna be a highly inclusive process. And you're gonna, I can already tell from our meeting that you're gonna take that very seriously. You're very curious about what the input's going to provide, and it will shape who you choose and how we choose that person. But when we release it, there'll be information from their former district. There'll be information from them. Yeah. Okay.
All
7th
day.
could be all day. 7th could be all day.
If we have 8 candidates, it would be 8 hours.
It'd be exhausting. But we'll talk about it if you.
I just want to make sure he clears his calendar. Okay, I
Oh,
think
yeah,
we
he'll
should
be-
be done by 7
yeah,
PM. Mhm.
Can we all come along with you?
We'll be
Yes.
done by 7 PM.
We'd never gone. Yeah. That's good. Yeah.
Oh, tonight.
I don't think so.
What time is it now?
You're good.
We have a quick.
Right. Last thing, board president, you'll be working with your legal counsel on the contract with this person. That is not our job. You can consult with us about that, but that is a matter between the employee, the future employee, and you guys and your legal counsel, right? We put on here optional validation visit. Not something I've done. It means you're going to the district yourselves and talking to people. Yeah.
What does that actually look like?
I had it done to
I
me one
mean-
time as a principal.
Yeah.
A team came up and talked to my site, and it's awkward. but it's, because people didn't want you to leave and then, people say we want, yeah. I've never done it with a superintendent search. Have you done it?
No, but I had it done to me as a principal as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
They took me anyway. I don't know why.
Yeah. And then hopefully at your March 26th regular, we have to do it at a regular board meeting. We cannot have a special meeting for this. We appoint in closed session and then you have to discuss the details of the contract in open session. That's how it-
Okay. Anything else before we recess to close?
I have one question about what happens after this, because I know in your contract, there was kind of support for that transition phase if needed. Can you speak briefly to what happens after that moment?
We will hopefully have with you a transitional meeting that we work, with you and the new superintendent and the board and just talk about how we're going to go forward. We would love to be a part of that.
Great.
We will be on call with the new superintendent. Sometimes they use that quite a bit, other times they don't, but we could be a thought partner. We can be a guide with that. We'll both be available. We'll check in with them and see how they're doing, but that's available too. A question that is not included in our contract, but if you think we could be helpful to you as a board in the future, we're happy to talk about that, but that's something above and beyond. But we want this to be successful and we think those elements are critical.
That, I had a question about that, which is, I think generally this is something that will be, I will say, like, I've not been through this process before, as a board member, so this is totally new to me. I don't think
No one
anybody
else
on our
has,
board
no.
has gone through this before. And so how we navigate the first couple of months, how we know, like, one of the questions when I go out for job interviews, I always ask, like, a year from now, how will you know that you've chosen the right candidate? Is what I ask the people that, are interviewing me. And so I'm reflecting as a board member, like, what metrics will we measure that success by? And like, it's like when you call someone up, when you adopt a pet and you're like, is this normal? Should I return this animal? Like, what happened? So if you have a sort of sense, and again, I know that's going to be different for every district, but what we should be looking for in those first few months so that we know this is just like everybody getting used to everybody, or like,
Right.
Arrested Development, I've made a terrible mistake.
Great question, right? And I'm guessing I speak for both of us when I say that the evaluation process should not be a gotcha.
No.
The evaluation process should be a highly back and forth communication between the superintendent and the board, and should happen, at least quarterly, where that communication is going back and forth. We could assist with that, right? Because it sometimes it's hard as you as the evaluative body and a new superintendent, but we think that's the place where that goes, where you're setting clear expectations for what you're looking for in the goal. And by the way, we are big fans of the superintendent listening in early on. It kind of goes back to your culture question. If you can't come in just firing away, right? You got to come in and listen to what the needs are. And there are some immediate needs. We all know that you've had that have to be addressed, but that whole process can be very helpful, and it can be done under the evaluation part of that. And we would push that hard. If we can be of assistance with that, we're happy to do it. But that's the way you do that, where you set those goals together and work together on them.
Great. All right, let's recess to close. We're going to recess to close at 6:58. Thank you. Ms. Quintero? All right, thank you. Returning from closed session, no action was taken in closed session. We will adjourn this special meeting at 7:42. Thank you.
I looked at the agenda, which is just in case. All right, everyone. I mean, that's what I didn't want her to be alone.
That's so nice. Yeah. Welcome. Happy Mary.
Yeah, the next one.
Oh, yeah. I see.